Ms. Burlinson, what are your thoughts on our school's environmentally friendliness?
You know, one of the strengths of our school is the individuals who work and learn at our school. And there's so many individuals who have so much passion for the environment and do incredible things to support environmental efforts on our campus and in our community at large. I would say the one area where I think our school really needs an opportunity to grow is on programs that are owned by the school, that are invested in by the school, and that are something that we can carry forward into the future instead of often we have incredible movements led by teachers and students that last for the tenure of those teachers and students. And I'd love to see things that are more systemic at our school.
That the school has already taken against climate change, and what are some that we could be doing?
Okay, thank you, Tatum. Well, first of all, there has been a great deal of research and action, especially taken upon by Ms. Burlinson and Ms. DeLaPaz. So they have already discovered all the key needs for implementing a program to just start with composting. They and I have done a great deal of researching on starting recycling, and recycling is not what it used to be. Now we have to have clean recycling. So we have built a program where we could phase in recycling and do it correctly, first with the adults, then with leadership class, and so forth. One thing we three, the teachers here being interviewed, we've all recycled in our classrooms. And in the last couple of years, I've taken at least 3 boxes of recycling home every week. And what I've learned from my students, no matter what they're like, athletes, play kids, skateboarders, they all learned very fast how to clean out a container and recycle it properly, and they cared about it. So again, back to Ms. Burlinson's, we just need that little fill-in to make it school-wide. They're ready. The students are ready.
How are you involved in making the school more environmentally friendly?
So we've had a lot of initiatives over the year looking at different ways of recycling. And when I first started teaching, that involved actually using grant funding to hire students to actually collect recycling from classrooms and help the school with that. And then we've had clubs that have been helping with that. Even our environmental outreach club actually just bought some dual recycling and garbage dollies that the custodial staff can take around to the classrooms so that it's not adding to their workload significantly in terms of time and person power. But more recently, we're looking at the impact that composting can make on our campus. And it's actually, there's a state mandate right now, a state assembly bill that mandates that we need to be composting on our campus. And so we were really excited in the spring to be able to bring in these free composting bins. And the service is being provided for free by our community composting and garbage collection company. So we have the ability to do composting in our cafeteria and other strategic locations on our campus. Now, as soon as we're ready to return to campus, we'll be able to start implementing that program school-wide.
What other initiatives are you personally involved in?
So there are quite a few on campus, and I've been involved in them along with Ms. O'Regan and Mrs. Burlinson. So I think the biggest one is the AP Environmental Science class. I started that one in 2010. So that was really an effort to make environmental issues more of a bigger thing in our curriculum. And we had a small environmental science class, Mrs. Bronson and I taught before that. And there was some environmental education in our space science classes and in our biology classes, but we didn't have much at the like junior, senior level. So it kind of filled in that niche. And so we've had anywhere between 3 to 6 sections of that for the last 10 years. So that's a lot of students that have moved through that curriculum. And one of the goals of that curriculum, and now I teach it with Mrs. Bryan, she and I have the goals of really not only communicating the science, but also allowing students to develop a connection to the natural world, because that's really where the desire to protect and to conserve our natural resources comes from. So through creek trips, through the Catalina trip, through other field trips and other experiences of just being outside and understanding nature in nature has been really a big part of the class. last year, Mrs. Burlinson and I took on the being advisors for the Environmental Outreach Club. And we've had several environmental clubs over the years, but this one has really taken off. And so supporting them has also been a big thing, because they are doing a lot to educate their peers and kind of spread the word about climate change. So I think that's also really important, because that peer education component, kind of peer pressure component, comes out of that club as well.
What hopes do you have for the future regarding the high school's role in combating climate change?
I think I can just really echo what Mrs. Burlinson said about seeing it become a more systemic part of our school. We have student groups, we have classes, we have individual teachers that are really focused on environmental issues and focused on combating climate change. And I think if you asked most people on campus, like, do you think climate change is bad? They'd say, yes, we think climate change is bad. But having more of a systemic focus of like, this is a priority issue for our school. We understand this is a major issue in the future of our students, and what their lives will look like going forward. And we're going to commit to making changes as a school that will support fighting climate change rather than just maintaining status quo.
How can we as individuals make a change at school and in our community?
Well, I don't think that component is going to be that difficult. It's always important to look in the mirror. If you are complaining about the waste a corporation is making, then what are your behavior patterns? Are you still buying a plastic container at Starbucks? Well, let's start using reusable containers. But not only that, if you do use it, please recycle it, rinse it out, dry it, and recycle it. I do want to come back around to that. I think all the kids are ready to do this, but right now we've just put out recycle bins and anything goes in them. So I think it's almost unfair to the kids because we've been doing wishful recycling. So if we could just cross that barrier of no longer doing the fake recycling and starting the phases. And what we need is like a Ms. Burlinson in our main office to be a leader, but she's a teacher, she's busy. I know there's probably someone passionate there. We have so many great people in the district office, but if we could designate a leader there that would be passionate about our students and want to take this on, because it's not just happening at our high school, it's happening at the district office, it's happening at Saratoga High. We're all in the same boat of having this new way that we need to recycle cleanly or compost and keep that separate so that doesn't get contaminated. So we do need a leader who will tell us, how we can start. We'll still do a lot of the work. They won't be alone. But then someone who will be able to look at the data, see what's working. We can say we're ready for the next phase. Just someone who could be in charge. We really need that instead of how we've always been going from the bottom up, like has already been mentioned. We need a passionate leader who cares about the kids, because it's really the kids' environment. It's your environment. The three of us have been environmentalists for a long time. We would like to see, the big change, have a leader also take this role that is in a position of power and can make that. By the way, the recycling has been mandated since 2012. So we have broken it since 2012 because our recycling is often contaminated. Again, Ms. Burlinson and Ms. DeLaPaz, they have already invited, I went to 2 meetings with them where they invited our garbage company there, the representative from our garbage company. They're there to help us. This man, Tim Ellis, was great. He told us everything to do, but we do need someone who is in the position who pays the bill to say, okay, we're doing it now. And, to talk to the janitors and talk to the teachers and everyone involved.
What should every Los Gatos High School student know about their role in climate activism?
I think everyone has a really significant role to play, but it doesn't have to be a role that dominates your life. It can be as simple as making the conscious decision to take a piece of paper and put it in a recycling bin versus putting it in the garbage. It can be as simple as, instead of putting your plastic water bottle or soda bottle into the garbage, actually just dumping it out in a water fountain that's nearby, giving it a quick rinse, and then popping it in the recycling bin. So there's a lot of really small, deliberate acts that every individual on our campus can do if they're willing to just make those small, deliberate acts. And then there's always other opportunities for them to get involved with the Environmental Outreach Club, with the other environmental clubs. Some students have been doing beach cleanup. So there's the larger intentional acts, but it doesn't have to be big. It can be very, very small as long as it's deliberate.
And I think there's a lot to be said too about our kind of ability for collective action as a school. Like, yes, individuals can do those things, but if we can, as a school, cultivate kind of a more systemic approach, then it doesn't have to be such an effort for each individual. You know, if we can, as a school, make a commitment to have a school culture where we've been talking about recycling a lot, where that is the norm. We're not throwing our trash on the ground. We're making sure it goes into the correct bin, where we're not idling our cars in the parking lot. We're going to sit in the library when it's cold, you know, those kinds of things. And I see a lot of students that are either agreeing with this idea of fighting climate change kind of on principle, but not following through with actions. But I think a lot of times it's because our kind of culture and our system is set up that those actions take more effort. And so if we as a school can work to make this the norm, that doing things that combat climate change or don't contribute to climate change are the norm, then it becomes much easier for individuals to just kind of fit right into that, because it's the thing that everyone's doing. It's how the system is set up. And so I think it's not only at the individual level, but it's also at the school level, but individuals can push for that change as well.
Yeah, I would add on the last part of that, and then just treat everyone with kindness. I mean, some people are vegan and they are saving our environment, but then not to be like, well, you're not vegan, you know, no shame in that. Instead, maybe bake some vegan cookies and have your friends try them. And that's how you win people over to even take another step of maybe having one meal a day that doesn't have an animal product in it, but then just really treating each other with kindness and acceptance, and not trying to be too pushy about how you're a better environmentalist on someone else, but just everybody doing something more than they did before. And we're on the right path then.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Everybody doing a little bit is better than one person doing everything perfectly. So the more we can, as a school, transition to everybody being involved in some way in environmental activities, then the better off we're going to be.